Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Viking Chat. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Wendy Peterman of Petermans of Herne Hill in South London, or that's kind of your central location, isn't it, Wendy?
Yeah.
So, look, you and I have known each other for a couple of years now, I think it is, through the Bulldog. We kind of initially met through the Bulldog Brothers dinner.
Yep.
And kind of been in contact since then, and we talk about bits and pieces. For those of you who don't know you, can we have a little mini Wendy bio?
Okay, mini Wendy bio, Wendy Peterman. I run the family business with my cousin, Howard. I'm based in Herne Hill. He's based in Edgware, which is our other office. We do sales and lettings, we do commercial, we do some property management. So we grew up as a lettings office. That's how we started our lives over 60 years ago. But we've kind of ended up doing everything. And yeah, pretty standard stuff, really. I mean, on the side, I'm looking to publish my first children's book.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, and also in the middle of doing a psychology and counselling open university degree. So that's little old me.
Well, never stop learning. That's awesome. So right, I mean, we were having a lovely chat beforehand. You've completely caught me off guard with the children.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's something my wife keeps talking a lot about wanting to do and doing. Where is that? Is this something you kind of always wanted to do? Is it more of a recent kind of passion project, or?
So English was my best. English lit was my best subject at school, and I loved writing. Well, I always wanted to write, but I never really. It was just a want. And through COVID, I read a great book called The Artist's Way, which was almost about unblocking it was about unblocking creativity in any form. And I took some of the tips from that book and just started writing, literally brain dumping every morning, which I would suggest everyone does, literally, quietly, 20 minutes. First thing in the morning, first thing I did was sit down and write whatever came into my head.
Wow.
The most amazing ideas came out, whether they were work related, anything. And if you don't know what to write, you just literally write, I don't know what to write, but something this stuff just comes out of your head. It's amazing. Anyway, that kind of got me thinking that I really wanted to go back to thinking about writing. But it was really telling stories to my granddaughter, who I look after on a Friday, or there was only one at that time. And I started telling her stories, and my daughter said, "Mum, you need to record these. They're really good." So I recorded them on my WhatsApp and sent them to her so that they could listen, they could be listened to again. And someone else said, "Does your mum make up the names to these stories?" And yeah. Rachel said, "No, she writes them or she makes them up." And they went, "Oh, they're really good." And it's kind of off the back of that. It's kind of grown its own thing, but it's
brilliant.
Just the most exciting thing, and I love it. So, and they love my stories, so I keep doing them.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I do stories pretty much every night with the kids. It's one thing. I always make sure I'm home.
Yeah.
Always make sure I'm home in time for dinner and bedtime.
Yeah.
And yeah, that story time is really precious.
Yeah.
It's because of obviously my acting thing, I don't necessarily make up stories, although LB does sometimes make me, but I do love going whole hog on voices and accents.
I'm not so good on that, but
no, I quite ever get Hayley going, "You're meant to be calming them down." Need to do like some Mexican bandido like chili pepper.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so no, that's awesome. I love that. I love stories of people regardless of age, but I think it's almost I think it's more interesting as people mature through their careers and stuff. I think there's it's great to be picking up little, these side projects, these things you've either always wanted to scratch that itch, or it's a new desire, whatever it is. I think anything that keeps your, like you said, creativity, anything that feeds your creativity in whatever outlet that is, whether it's writing, art, music, dance, whatever, anything that keeps that creativity going, I think is really, really good. And I think, learning a new skill, whether it's, writing a children's book or learning to ride a unicycle or how to do tricks with a yo-yo or anything like that. I think anything where your brain is learning new things, I think is generally really good, really exciting. That's great. Well, that totally side hooked us at the start. But no, great for that. So, excuse me. So, Petermans. So started, you said, about 60 years ago.
Peterman started over 60 years ago. My dad and uncle had a separate business, and they bought a property which needed managing in Herne Hill, and literally couldn't find anyone to manage it. And as time went on, kind of people came to them because they were, same thing, and they bought some more. So they basically started along the same parade of shops that we're in now.
Amazing.
Under the chemist in the basement. And I remember going there when I was little and going down the stairs, and there was them in their two little offices, and eventually they kind of got big enough and moved upstairs. And now we've got these two offices, the one I'm in now, which is like a conference room, and the sales and lettings office, which is next door. And that was kind of the beginning. Obviously, they stopped doing the other thing and wholeheartedly went into property development and lettings. And then, the sales grew on the side of that over time. And we're still, as I say, we're still in the same place that they started. I think it was 1962 they started.
Wow. I mean, it's a great little spot you've got, because obviously I've seen your shop. We met many years ago. I think I came down for a little, there was some sort of local little festival-y thing going on. I think I was down with my wife Hayley, who runs Station Hall, which is the venue.
Oh yeah.
It's a community venue, literally right above her.
Yeah.
And I think we came down for a literature festival or something, and I think you had your shop open for some sort of, I can't remember, some sort of big 3D map or something that had been built in your office, I seem to remember. I met you and Ben and briefly. So it's really good. It's funny how you have these little connections. So when you tell me, obviously a business that started in a very different time for agency, B for lettings.
Totally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, a different millennium.
Literally.
Although potentially stands you in good stead for where we're going, because we seem to be heading in some respects back to that kind of a slightly different tenancy structure. But what's it been like for you coming through a family business? I mean, did you feel obligated to be part of the Petermans kind of empire, or were you kind of naturally drawn to it because it was kind of happening all around you?
Well, I actually at the beginning definitely didn't want to be involved in it. So I had a totally separate career in advertising. I had a flourishing career. I loved my job.
On the creative side or more on the account management
creative
side?
Services. So it was literally managing time and money.
Yeah.
And people's expectations. I was the middle person between the creatives and the account people.
In marketing and my dad was an art director. I think.
Oh, okay. I was the girl that got him his found him his people that he needed to use for illustration or photography or printing. So yeah, I was that girl. And I loved it because it gave me a chance to input creatively. I got very involved with the art directors. I was always trying to kind of understand what they want and help. And so I did that for many years. I worked at Saatchi's, had the best time in the 80s.
One of you were there at the same time. Dad was there with Saatchi's early doors.
Oh, really?
He was there the very early doors with Saatchi. And then where else was he? Because he worked on things like the Marlborough account, and oh God, what else? John Deere, which was apparently big in those days.
No, I think I was the late 80s. I was kind of.
Oh no, if you were late 80s, we were
88.
in Singapore then. So he
Yeah.
was with an advertising agency called Beatties in Singapore then. He
Okay.
worked on all the Singapore Airlines stuff.
Oh.
So he came up with all their corporate branding and all the uniforms the stewards used to wear, and very funny. But no,
I actually did another agency after that. I actually worked on Emirates and did all the below the line stuff for Emirates. But anyway, so I was there for many years. Then I left, and basically I got very ill. It was and I almost died. I couldn't go back to going. That sounds very dramatic. It's a long story. I won't go into it, but I was very, very ill.
I'm not sure you can over dramatize nearly dying, Wendy. I love the way you fobbed that off like it was a bad cold. That sounds really dramatic.
Well,
it really died. It was
horrible. And I couldn't work for 3-4 months. Wow. I certainly couldn't go back to that kind of
you think it was partly because of that lifestyle? Because I know with Dad looking, advertising was mental. I mean, once you got into that run into a deadline of a campaign, it was, Dad would disappear for days.
Yeah, and you couldn't go home. And I had 2 kids.
Yeah,
and I didn't see a lot of them at that time.
Yeah, and those were the days where you could go, I've got children to go home to. I'll see you all tomorrow.
No, they'd say you're fired.
They'd be like, don't come back in the morning.
Yeah.
You have a job anymore.
And there were many times when I went home, put them to bed, and went back to work. And went home so that I was there when they got up in the morning. So it was, listen, you lived in a weird advertising bubble in those days. It was like that was the real world.
Yeah, and look, there's still an element of that today. I still, I've got lots of friends who work in that field today, and it's got a bit better because of everyone's a bit more forthright about how they should be treated by an employer. But I mean, a lot of the ones I still see, it's still that same, like, Christ, a week till the deadline, cancel all your plans, you're here and it's done. I think that's still that on the big stuff anyway. I think that.
Yeah,
of course.
I was lucky I worked on Castlemaine Forex, I worked on Silk-Cut, I worked on the lottery, the first lottery ad, I worked on Castlemaine Forex. It was brilliant, but it obviously took its toll.
And they were great because that was the whole campaign of our Australians wouldn't give a Castlemaine Forex for anything else, wasn't it? It was the whole, brilliant.
And I'll tell you something.
Ad geek taglines.
And and Army be the best.
Oh, Dad! I mean, my dad would we'd just be constantly grilled. Anything we were watching, he's like, "What did you think of that? How did you like that? What did you like that? How would you change that?" He'd come running down the stairs sometimes with different ideas, like this one or this one, this one or this,
Yeah. Oh, bless him. Brilliant. But anyway, so I did that. I did it eventually, kind of conk out a bit. And I couldn't go back to that kind of pressure. Yeah. And Dad had been saying to me, come into the business, come into the business, come into the business. And I really eventually just thought, I'm going to do this because what else? I don't actually know what else I'm going to do. If I can't work in advertising, which is literally all I've known, then what am I going to do? I may as well go and do that.
Yeah.
So that was how I started into it. And it was. So when I started, I came in here. I lost all my hair. It wasn't from chemo, but it was from my organs shutting down.
Jesus.
So I had a wig on, and I walked it, and I was really thin. I was about 6 stone because I'd been so ill. God. And I walked in with no confidence whatsoever because I thought, what the fuck am I doing? Sorry if I can't swear on this, but
you can absolutely swear.
What the fuck am I doing here? And everyone looked at me. I didn't know anybody, and I looked around and I thought, just just
think you have that funny dynamic with a family business as well, right? You kind of feel like, oh,
yeah.
you know.
So I went through the motions for a few days and kind of just watched and listened and picked up bits and pieces and thought, this isn't how I would do this if it was me. So I had been used to setting up systems, and I ran the traffic department, which was all project management and timing. So I looked around and thought, nah, this is not how I would do it. So I did go back to my dad and uncle and Howard and say, this, can I change things?
And how was that received?
Well, they weren't sure, but off we went, and we changed the staff, we changed the layout of the offices, we rebranded, which obviously for me was marvelous. So then we had this agency that was different to what I'd walked into.
So you got to the rebranding, nice, still into that.
Yeah, we've rebranded again since then, but we rebranded, and I hired some people that knew what they were doing, because I was fine at all of that bit, but I didn't know anything about what estate agents do. It's like, I didn't know about cold calling, I didn't know about door knocking, I didn't know about door drop, or anything to do with anything. But luckily the lettings team, most of them we kept, and they knew what they were doing. And the sales I hired and property management I hired literally from the day I started, and most of them are still with us. So wow. I know we've got a team that have been here.
That is a serious testament to the business you guys run. That's huge.
But I did look round at one point and think, well, this isn't actually that hard. This isn't that hard. I can do this. It's all about time and money and managing expectations, which was what I did before. What's so hard about this? So I like doing sales progression and all of the things that are naturally kind of that type of thing. But yeah, it was just when I wanted to do things that were slightly out of the norm that we came to this point where no one wanted to do it.
Loggerheads.
So, my dad and uncle.
Did you kind of stop, or was that kind of the point? You had to kind of get to this crux where you either kind of gave up and walked away, or you had to kind of smash through walls and be like, well, I feel that strongly about it. I chose my arguments.
Yeah. Basically, there were things that obviously I had to compromise on, and then there were things that I felt strongly enough about that it was like, no, we really need to do this. We need to do this to move on.
But I think that's good of any family or not. I mean, this sounds a lot like me and Anne. I mean, I'm the ideas person. I'm the creative person. I take a lot of ideas to Anne. They absolutely don't all happen.
Yeah.
But I think, she will really. She's, by her own admission, she's a glass half empty kind of person. So anything new, it's like, okay, well, prove to me why it's better, or prove to me why it's worth taking, or, and I think it's great because, through that process, I've taken it to her, and she's been like, right, come back to me with X, Y, Z. And I go away and I do the research, I crunch the numbers, and I come back to her and go, yeah.
I didn't quite get that.
Eat it for now.
My response wasn't quite as positive as Anne's to you, maybe because they were a generation older, and because I was the one.
It's your dad.
One, it was my dad, and this was, and even now still is. Bless him, he's 93 years old. Sadly, my uncle isn't with us anymore, but was with us until 3 years ago, and both of them were, and my dad still is, very vocal about the business.
I remember you telling me not that long ago, your dad would just rock up at one of your offices and just kind of start saying, why is this here, and what are you doing, and send you messages like,
He doesn't rock up anymore, but I get the messages. But I think for me, the hardest part was, one, he was my dad.
Yeah.
And two, I was the newest member of the team. And three, I was a woman.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to lead on to that because I did want to ask whether you felt that added an extra layer of challenging.
Yeah. And it still does, to one degree or another. We will, Dad and I will talk about something. Howard and I, my cousin and I, we're the same age. We have a fantastic relationship. We are very good for each other. We balance each other out. But if I'm talking to Dad and he says, right, well, what do you think we should do about blah, blah? I say to him, well, I think this is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, well, we'll talk to Howard and see what Howard thinks. And I'm like, no. What the fuck are you going to... I know what Howard thinks because I've actually spoken to him because we talk every day.
Yeah.
But it's that whole thing of deferring.
Yeah.
Which really actually does is...
Yeah. If he was having that conversation with Howard, would he turn around and go, oh, well, let's run it by Wendy first?
No, he won't ever say to Howard, oh, let's check with Wendy what Wendy thinks. So that, and I know part of that is because he's my dad, but I think part of it is that he underestimates me because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And it really pisses me off a lot. And it does undermine me. I mean, we've had it in all sorts of over the years in a variety of instances, whether it be just running this office or other. And you do actually end up feeling quite, and I've undermined, and I have told him how I felt. And he's tried hard to change, but, you know, it's a bit hard now. He's 93. He's not going to change now.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, we were talking before. Our dads are actually very similar ages. My one is chasing yours, and mine turns 93 just before Christmas. Yeah, I mean, I've had some fascinating conversations with my mum. The last kind of my parents separated years ago when I was 16, so nearly 30 years ago. But my parents lived a weird and wonderful life, traveling around a lot because of Dad's career. I mean, he was to say that I mean, that man followed his dreams, but he followed them on a whim. And what I mean by that is, like, he would come home from work one day and he would just say to Mum, right, I've been offered a job with the CBS, the Canadian Broadcasting Service, starts next month. Start planning. You know, and you know, hearing these stories of how Mum would just, this was before they had kids. I think she was pregnant with my brother, who's now 61, and she was just expected to literally just pick up and move. And literally, I think one of her stories was, I think, like pretty much the day they arrived. So my dad was also a fanatical cricket person, loves watching it, loved playing it even more, would have been a professional cricketer if his dad had let him. But as his dad rightly said back then, that was back in the days when professional cricket got paid fuck all. So his dad was like, absolutely not. But yeah, my dad was a fanatic to the point where I think, like, the day they arrived in Canada, or the day after they arrived in Canada, having moved there to start their new life, Dad literally turned around, pulled his cricket bag out the cupboard, and was like, "I'm off on a cricket tour, darling. I'll see you in like 10 days' time." Yeah, yeah. And that wasn't the only time they did that. You know, they did Canada for a few years, came back. About 10 years later, he got offered an amazing job in Australia, and again was like, "We're moving to Australia." Like, literally would just inform.
Wow.
This, and Mum would just, you know, equally. I mean, Mum would kind of go along with it. I mean, Australia was a classic one because that was late 60s, early 70s, so before I was born. I mean, Australia isn't necessarily known as being the most culturally forward English-speaking nation at the best of times. We can imagine late 60s, early 70s, quite a bit behind where they are now. And my mum is not a softly spoken woman. Yeah, she lasted about a year in Australia. She literally turned around to Dad one day and was like, "I'm not taking any more of this shit. Like, I'm going back to England. The kids are coming with me. You do what the fuck you want, but we're out of here."
Wow.
But I mean, it's been fascinating talking to Mum the last few years, because again, obviously, as you mature, you reframe how you see your parents, right? You see them as a kid, idolize them, and then you start to become an adult, and then obviously another big thing is you become a parent, you have kids, and all of a sudden you're like, my parents did what? But yeah, it's been fascinating talking to him in the last few years, these stories that have come out, and it's so funny because she talks about them, and then she kind of justifies some of my dad's behavior, because I'm like, so he did what? And she's like, oh, different times, darling, different times. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, different times buys you a little bit of leeway. But I mean, shocking things like my dad never changed a single nappy with all three of us. We've got 3 kids, never, not once, not one emergency change. I'm just like, how is that? I just sit there today and I'm just like, anyway, we're definitely straying quite a bit away from agency here, but
but really interesting.
But I love this thing about, I mean, we've been huge supporters of the women in the state agency movement. Obviously, I find this whole conversation fascinating because I chose Anne as a business partner 22 years ago. At no point in my mind was there ever a point of debate or conversation which was that she's a woman. Or the fact
why should there be? I mean, this is my whole thing. There shouldn't be, because it doesn't matter what you are. You could be anything. If you've got the right, you've got the tools to do the job, it should make no. I mean, I read on one of the groups that it was only however long ago, can't remember now, that women were allowed to have a mortgage.
It's only 50 years, I think.
It is, since women
have to have a co-signature from like your husband or your dad.
I mean, seriously, it is ridiculous.
It's
and I do think, yes, good.
You realise how recent all this stuff really is.
I'm absolutely, one for kind of. I just believe that it doesn't make any difference what sex you are. You just need to be treated equally. Sadly, that seems to mean that if you're a woman, you have to work much harder at being treated equally. So, and from my point of view, I've seen it. And I look back at even my previous career where in those days, if you wanted to get something done from one of the art directors, if you needed to get a sign off for something because your time had run out and you thought, oh, for God's sake, I've got to get them to approve this block, you'd put a miniskirt on and bloody dilly-dally into the office.
Lipstick and
lippy on and schmooze them into, I mean, seriously, what?
Isn't it?
But that was the then. I mean, now I've put on a pair of bloody hobnail boots and pick him up the bum to do it. But
get a hard hat on.
But I think we do have to, as women, we do have to work harder at being taken seriously. And it's changing. Don't get me wrong.
I've been in umpteen rooms where either it's businesses I've worked in or conferences, in our industry or whatever, where a woman will say something and it gets glossed over or ignored, and then a man will repeat what that woman's just said.
Yeah, it's like, I just said that.
And then the whole, oh, bravo.
Exactly.
Well done, Charles.
Yeah.
Off. Sarah said it half an hour ago.
Yeah, you tosser. Yes, exactly. So, so there is a bit of that, but in general, certainly now. So it was quite difficult, kind of. Then, I mean, now obviously, Dad's older, Uncle Sydney isn't here, sadly, and so it's a much easier kind of run-in. But
how do you feel, if at all, that kind of shaped how you were with women within the business? I don't think, and I'm not saying it had to necessarily be something conscious. It wasn't, you know, but are you aware of, like I said, any kind of, I don't know, kind of safeguards maybe isn't the right kind of place, but having kind of experienced that, is there anything you've kind of consciously or even subconsciously been like, you know, with regards to women in our business, you know, I'm going to make sure that this never happens, or that they always feel supported or listened to or valued, or
so right in the early days, really early days, before we had CRMs even, I went on a viewing. I went on a viewing. Some guy phoned, wanted me to go and value his house. It was only down the road. I forgot to write it in the diary because right, off I trotted down there. I think I told Paul where I was going, but you know, I went down there, walked in, and the door shut behind me, and I thought,
something's not right.
What am I doing? And a guy came. I met a guy at the door who seemed very nice. After the front door had shut, another guy, a big guy, came down the stairs, and I thought, I literally shat myself. I did, and then I thought, what am I going to do? Oh my God, you know, Susie Lampard. That, you know, it was all of that. And as it happened, nothing happened, and they were really nice. I was petrified the whole time I was there. I couldn't get out of the house, and I literally ran back to the office and thought, that is never happening to anyone again. And we did put safeguards. We still have them, different ones obviously now, but it was one of the scariest things that had happened to me. I was so frightened. So I work hard with all the staff, and that's the guys as well, because it's not just women these things happen to.
Yeah.
We're very aware. We all know where each other are going. We phone each other up if we've been a length of time that we feel is too long. We will phone, and the person who is out knows they have to answer. If they don't answer, we go there.
Yeah.
So, you know. But across the industry, I see a lot of women in positions such as property managers. I see women as lettings negotiators or sales negotiators, even branch managers, but not so many. And then, hey, where are the women? Where are the women up the tree? And that's what I believe in. That's what we need to work on. You know, I think that across this industry, there's still a bit of that. Oh, well, we'll keep them at that level because they're only going to leave and have babies. And I still think there's a bit of that kind of mindset within.
I think there's absolutely a bit of that. I think there is also, you know, this kind of well-documented fact that gets talked about a lot of, you know, a guy will look at a job role and go, oh, I know 20% of what that job requires.
Yeah.
I can probably do it. I'll have a crack.
Yeah, wing it.
A woman will look at the same job profile and will have 80% of the skill set and will go, oh, but I don't have that 20%.
Yeah.
And I think there's a, you know, that default psychology of, kind of, you know, screw it, just do it, just go for it, figure it out. You know, I think it comes back to a lot of what you touched on. You know, you felt very vulnerable and exposed to a certain extent, and you didn't want to. You know, we've all got those insecurities. We've all already got those. You know, whatever kind of handle you want to put on it. But we've already got those as a default kind of level anyway, and then layer that on top of it, and particularly if you're one of the few senior women within a company, again, I think that comes with even more pressure, because you've got, you know, like you've got guys waiting for you to fail. You feel like you've got other women within the business hoping for you to kind of lead the way and you know, roll out the ladder.
Yeah.
And that comes with a lot of its own pressures. But yeah, I think I mean, I've had conversations about this in various different rooms and fields and situations, but I think it's definitely about lifting one another up, right? And I think
absolutely. And that's why Women in Estate Agency as a whole, you know, we've got a fantastic Facebook page, which is so supportive to women. And, you know, anyone that puts anything on there, they get so many responses, helpful responses. Any questions get on. It's just a brilliant website.
And I know the WhatsApp group's been really helpful for a lot of women as well.
Yeah, I mean, yes, because it's just the whole fact, everything that they do. You know, they run leadership courses. Well, you know what they do. They run leadership courses. That it's about being seen and appreciated, but also respected.
Yeah.
In the field. In our field, and I think they go a long way to help that.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. It's reshaping people's minds, isn't it? Like I said, I mean, with Anne, there was never at any point was there ever a question over the fact that she was a woman, the fact that she was in a gay relationship, the fact that she was a jolly foreigner. You know, you know. None of those three things ever were ever remotely a consideration for me, and I think that's partly to do with the way we were raised. I mean, my mum.
Say you're kind of a bit of a one of a kind. You're not the norm in inverted commas.
No, and I think, you know, we travelled a lot. My mum was always my mum was an amazing person with friends. She would make friends with anyone and everyone, from a homeless person on the street to. I remember we lived in Singapore. She was best mates with the ex-Sultan of Malaysia, the ex-Sultan's what? I don't know, a Sultaness, the ex-Sultan's wife, because the Sultan had passed. Wow. But yeah, you know, we would go to kind of street celebrations with in Singapore and Asia. It's very common. You would have what are called amas, which are kind of like house help. Basically, it sounds super posh. It wasn't. It was kind of the norm back then. But we would go and do street parties and family weddings with them, and equally, you know, we would go and wander around the ex-Sultan's house, and I'd get a tour of their 12 garages of cars. So
wow.
But equally also we had some outrageously gay friends as well. My mum never gave a shit about what anyone thought about anyone. If she liked someone, she liked them, and that was it. Once you were in her kind of her clutches, her loving clutches, that was it, you know, and below anyone who would say anything bad about you. So yeah, I think I was always raised with that side, and I think, you know, potentially a little bit that got squeezed out with boarding school being what it was, being very posh and privileged, and but there was still very much a multicultural element to that side of it as well. So, but yeah, I still find the whole woman thing fascinating, right? Because we've definitely all got a mother, even if they're not around anymore. You know, but that fact that I love that story where they list off a load of famous men who've achieved things, and it's like, what's the one thing if you took away that would stop them achieving anything? And the simple answer is women, which I think is brilliant. But yeah, it's I just find it fascinating. I find it fascinating that, you know, women are 51% of the population. Like I said, we've all got or had a mother, and then most of us will have a partner, a wife, or a daughter, or a cousin, or a sister, or something. For me, I still find that imbalance.
Yeah.
Building on the basis that you've got most people have a woman they are related to in some aspect, and the fact that you would treat or mistreat or dismiss or disadvantage.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's going back to, it's like being in Victorian times.
It's fucking weird, isn't it?
I mean, it really is, because you think Queen Victoria was probably one of the most successful queens we've ever had, and Queen Elizabeth, for that matter, the first and the second, and they were women.
Yeah.
But, you know, and they're talked about as being really, you know, successful as a, you know, as the queen, as the reigning you know, you hear more about those three than you hear about any of the kings, apart from Henry VIII, who just shagged everyone and chopped their heads off.
Yeah.
And actually, if you look at that, you just think from a woman's point of view, it's like, oh, that's like the real world.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it was this year's conference. I think it was last year's conference. I shared, like, I've got these like stories of women through the years, and one thing that was fascinating about that, I shared some of them, and some of these stories went back like 500 years.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 800 years. Same fucking battles you guys have been having for like a millennia.
Yeah.
And like, you know, all these incredible women from every different walk of life. We bought Elby some of these amazing books. It's kind of like, I think one is like, you know, badass women from history or something like that. And it's everything from like supermodels to, you know, human rights campaigners to leaders of African tribes to everything from business and science through to, but you know that, and like I said, reading that book of stories that I shared a few stories of a while back, it just, nothing has really changed.
No,
it's so weird. It's so weird that so much in society's changed, so much of how we live and technologically and all that sort of stuff, our standards of life, and to a certain extent opportunity, but then there are still those same old barriers, those same old belief systems.
I think we've almost got one more generation to go before things are different. So I look at my husband, for instance, right? He's in his early 70s.
Yeah.
But he grew up in an environment where very much the woman stayed at home and
raised the kids, ran the home.
Yeah, and the men went out to work, and the women weren't allowed to have a comment about anything. He is not like that.
No.
But
I don't imagine he would have lived long if he was.
Well, you've met. No, he really wouldn't, and you've met him.
I've met you. That's all I need to know at that one.
He still has this thing that he'll watch sports. He loves sports, so he watches football. He hates women commentators. It's this, right? This is the weird thing. And he'll go, it's not that I'm sexist. It's a bit like, it's not that I'm racist.
I'm not racist.
I believe in women doing all that. I just don't like them. And it's like, but I mean, some of them I hate because I actually don't like their voices and they really get on my nerves. But some of them are really good. And I think it's his generation is like the last generation of that.
Yeah.
Because I look at how I've raised my kids and I look at my kids with their kids.
Yeah.
And everything's equal. Literally. At home, everything's equal. No one does it. They don't have jobs that are women jobs and men jobs. They both cook, they both clean, they both go to work, they both. And I think that kind of age of like 70 up are the remnants of that kind of old way of thinking.
I mean, we say that when
I hope
being optimistic, you know, because then equally you also see on social media this other kind of swing back the other way. This kind of like, let's hark back to traditional values. Fuck off.
Oh no.
Anyway, well, that was I really enjoyed that. We kind of went on a little
that was a journey.
No. It's I like the fact that we kind of stumbled onto that as we went, rather than seeking it out as a topic from the offset. I mean, I still think I still personally feel that men have a huge responsibility within that change. Not necessarily to make the change happen, but just to make sure that the opportunity's there.
Yeah.
And to step away from your own biases. I think, and it's fascinating actually how sometimes how easy it is to fall into those default patterns, but also how easy it is to turn around. You know, I don't think anyone, well, I won't name it specifically, but I'm involved with a board, and a couple of years ago we made the decision that it would be good to make the board bigger, to expand the board by about 50%. And as that conversation came up, we started talking it around the table, and we went round the table, which was predominantly men. I think it was 6 or 7 of us, and I think there was maybe 1 woman at the table. And we went round the table, and it was like, oh, does anyone know anyone who you think would be good to join? And no fucking surprise, we went around the table, and everyone, including the women sat at the table, offered male-only names.
Why? Oh, yeah.
But it was fascinating that, you know, it kind of got to that, and it got round to me, and I just went, with the greatest respect, I think we've got enough dicks around this table. Which everyone took in the spirit it was meant. Everyone had a chuckle. We all had a laugh. No one felt like they were being morally apprehended or you know, scolded for what they'd done. But just saying that and a quick little laugh, and we very quickly went around the table, and instantly everyone around the table offered 1 or 2 names, 1, 2, 3 names.
It didn't come naturally, did it?
Exactly.
Oh,
and this is
insane.
so I think as guys, we don't have to be the change per se, but I think we have a responsibility to pull this shit out, you know. And you know, we talked earlier about women suggesting thing in a meeting or at a conference or whatever, and it kind of gets skipped over, and then a man will make a very similar point. If you see or hear that happening, call that shit out.
Absolutely.
You know, and again, it doesn't have to be aggressive. You don't have to berate or belittle someone.
No, you could do, as you said, that's already been mentioned by blah blah. That's all you know. You
can do it with humor. You can do it with, you know, however you want to do it. It doesn't have to be militant and aggressive. But I think, yeah, we do still have a responsibility. So look, there's a couple of other things we want to talk about, and I'm very much aware we are running out of time. We've done some good waffling, so this is good. So I very quickly we'll have to skip over these 2. So we might have to do Wendy part 2 in the future, and we'll dive in more detail. So one thing I wanted to talk to you was a challenge I know we've come across with Base, and I know talking to other agents similarly within smaller independent organizations. And I think, excuse me, I think a family business brings another layer to this kind of dynamic. But I know one of the things we've struggled with some of our team, that's why it's amazing to hear that you've had staff stay with you guys so long, which is phenomenal. So I think the average, I remember reading the other day, I think the average is something like 17 months.
Really?
Yeah, it blew my mind the other day. I think it was Rainer Personnel, I think, put out a stat, and I'm sure because they've done quite a bit recently about kind of struggling to get young people in and you know, making the industry attractive, and it was talking about a lot of young people. I don't know if that was a stat specifically related to kind of younger people, I don't know, under 30s or whatever, but about 17 months is a typical thing. I remember reading that and thinking, oh, you know, we kind of average probably more like 4 or 5 years. So happy with that. But I know, so I'm waffling my way to this question. For a talk that needs to move quickly, I'm doing a very good job of getting we've run into this thing where we get people, they get bedded in, they love the business, love the culture, kind of get to a certain point, but then they feel, because it's an independently owned business, you know, you've got me down at the top, and then there's the rest of the business. There is a perception, whether it's a perception or a reality, either way, I suppose it's kind of that thing, if you think it, it's true, that there's a limit to how far they can go within the business.
Yeah.
For those that are career minded, for those that are looking to kind of keep building, keep growing, they feel like they reach a certain point where they go, do you know what? I've loved the journey, guys. That's how long I've been talking. Both of my spotlights have just failed on me. Yeah, there's that perception of there being a ceiling. So with us, it's you know, me and Anne as business partners, with you guys, if your name's not Peterman, how is that something you guys have experienced? How do you guys kind of tackle that?
We have been very lucky that some of the staff are happy. I mean, obviously they've been here all this time, so we haven't had that, but we have in the past had members of staff that have come up to us after however long and said, we don't feel that there's anywhere to go. What can we do? You know, we love working here, but, and there isn't, we run quite a flat structure. So we aren't a hierarchy. We actually don't even have branch managers. So it's literally me, Ben and Howard and everyone else, and everyone's the same. So what we have tried to do, and you know, you can talk to Ben about what he's done in that instance, but what we've done is try to expand into other areas that they're interested in. So we can't say you can be fine, you know, we'll give you a 3-year plan and by the time 3 years is up you can be a director or something, because they can't be. You know, the company is not structured like that at all. But what we do try and do is find them other avenues that they can push into that will give them a feeling of ownership. So, you know, we'll look towards, for instance, new builds or land, and say, right, you go and do that. That's your baby. Right, and that's the way we try and incentivize them and motivate them. Because there's no point promising something you can't give, and they know, they're not stupid, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't work here, or I wouldn't have hired them to work here. They know there isn't anywhere to go. It's not like we can pretend that they can go somewhere, because they can't. So it's, what else can we do? We give them as much as we can give them in terms of benefits, in terms of time, in terms of, they know that we are a company that whatever they need, if we can facilitate it within our remit kind of thing, they know we will. We had one guy that had a severe kidney problem. He was on dialysis. It was all taken. We sent him to a private doctor. You know, we'll do all the things that we can do. If they've got childcare issues, it's never. So I think they then balance their own kind of ambition against what they get working here. And I think kind of in terms of a caring company, that's what they get.
And I think that aligns with a lot of, you know, interestingly, with a lot of what Anne and I, you know, have done and do here. You know, I think one of our guiding principles when we started Base was, you know, we had a very clear vision of what we wanted to do for clients and customers, but for staff, you know, we always said we wanted to build the business that we wished we worked for. You know, supported, valued, you know, all those sorts of things. And it's really interesting you say about the kind of side tangents, because over the years we've had a couple of staff come to us, like you said, with that kind of conversation point, and like you said, leaning a certain way. And it's really interesting because it hasn't worked out, but we kind of defaulted to where, or I kind of defaulted to where you were, which was, okay, cool, what would that look like? You know, go off, you know, fine, go and do some research, start figuring out what this looks like, and come back to me. And I think interestingly, with our one so far, that kind of never really got past that stage, and that kind of was kind of self-deciding in that. And again, I think sometimes as members of staff, they work within a generally harmonious, generally successful business. That's not to say you don't have your good or bad times, but a lot of what we do as owners and directors is, although we sit in the office day to day with our staff, right, there's a lot hidden. There's a lot
absolutely
they don't see. You know, they see you sit at the computer, but they have no overview of exactly what it is, you know, that you're juggling.
I mean, I woke. It's funny that we're talking about this because I woke up this morning. I know I need to go fast. I woke up this morning and thought, oh, I really don't want to go to work today. I just don't.
They're not often those days, but
they're not. But sometimes you just get one. I've had anyway.
Yeah.
Some personal things, and I just thought, oh, you know what? I just need a day to myself. But in the morning, I got up, I came to work, normal self, blah blah blah. You know, Mrs. Happy, and I just think they're the bits that, if they don't want to come to work, they won't come to work. There's no. I mean, I'm very lucky. My staff do not take loads of sick days, but in general, if there was a reason for them not to come, they would just not come. They don't see this, like, in my own head, I had the conversation, well, you could always take the day off, you know.
Yeah.
Why not? It's like, no, I can't. I need to be there. I've got this, I need to do that, and all the responsibilities, and you carry them around with you, and people don't, you know, members of staff have no idea what goes, you know, you look at your bottom line and then you think this, or you think about cash flow, or whatever it might be. They're the things that you're constantly reviewing and worrying about, or you know, and I think they don't realise. So
no, and I think also, you know, we have to remind we've had a couple of, nothing major, but a couple of minor incidents recently. I mean, something resurfaced from me about, I don't know, 2 years ago, raising my voice with the team at one point. And it was actually, my reaction at the time had nothing to do with work. It had everything to do, both mum and dad were super ill at the time. And it looked very likely we were going to lose them both. And obviously, I hadn't said anything to the team, but it doesn't change anything. You don't need that burden. I've never been one of those people. I don't want to walk in every morning and go, are you okay?
How's it for you?
Yeah, fuck off. I'm fine. But it was really interesting that about a couple of years ago, there was, you know, some silly little thing going on in the office. I think it was, you know, the guys were deciding how to split the Christmas hampers between them. And I just fucking lost it. I was just like, what the fuck? And it was really interesting because I very quickly got a telling off from the team, being like, you can't talk to us like that. You can't, you know, blah, blah, blah. But what was really interesting was, you know, we've never been afraid of admitting our own mistakes. So I think very next day I came into the office and I was like, guys, apologies. Yesterday was not how I'd like to handle myself. There's one particular member of staff who had taken particular offense to it, who I took aside and was like, look, private chat, you know, if you want to really know what's what, nothing to do with you, nothing to do with the team. Yeah. This is what I've got going on in my personal life right now. Oh, you never said anything. No, I didn't say anything.
No, exactly.
I didn't. But in the same way that when you guys come in and you're normally of a generally bright and proactive demeanor, and you come in at some point and you've got a face like thunder, or you're quiet, or, you know, whatever your reaction is to personal stress, in the same way that we give you guys a little bit of space and we check in and like, are you okay? You know, you don't seem as productive, or you seem a little bit disengaged, or you're a bit quiet, or whatever. I was like, in the same way that we afford you sensitivity, we're the same as you guys. We still go through shit. We are still perfectly fallible. We still deal with stuff. You know, we're also allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to fuck up once in a while, as long as we kind of own it and apologize for it. But you know, what's really fascinating is, that felt need to be explained to them, but it actually came to light recently in a recent meeting. That person was still holding on to that event.
Wow.
You know, so it's interesting, this kind of dichotomy of where the business is going. And it's really interesting, that chat we had about keeping people motivated, because that was something that came up in our chat, as our team was feeling a bit stagnant, a bit kind of you know, wanting that next opportunity. And it was one of those things, because I was a bit like, well, you know, it's not really our job to find you guys those opportunities, in terms of, you know, we've got a great business, you've got very supportive bosses.
Yeah.
You know, we've said to you guys repeatedly, you try a new process, you find a new product that you think our business will love. There's a different arm to the business. You know, more about the social thing. And interesting, early this year, I had a member of our staff have a very similar kind of conversation around that. And our kind of position, which we've kind of questioned and battled with, but recent conversations I've had with several people, and this one with you, is kind of validated the fact that I think we've taken the right kind of position, which is, look, we'll support you, but you've got to take the initiative. It's not for us to plot out your career path. It's not for us to go, you know, we'll give you the belief, I think you can achieve this, but, you know, and we'll pay to train you, we'll pay to put you on a course, we'll, you know, sit down and work through business, whatever it is. But yeah, we feel like, you know, there comes a time where you really want to step your career up past a certain level, regardless of whether that's in a corporate structure, an independent, or striving out on your own. There's gonna need to be an element of impetus and self-drive.
Self-drive, yeah, that's exactly the word I was thinking.
And that we've just around there. So when I think we're going to wrap up there, we had intended to have a little chat about AI. But this has been so much fun. We'll schedule and we'll get around to the bits that we haven't talked about. I've absolutely loved our time today.
Yeah, me too.
I love that we stumbled and fumbled around on quite a few really lovely topics. And yeah, I think hopefully got a few bits for people to kick around, and really interested to see how some of our talk goes about. I mean, there's, you know, I think the fascinating thing with agency, despite public perception, is, you know, 80% of industry at the moment, of our industry, is still independents, 1 to 3 large businesses. I think we are seeing a shift in that. I think that will change over the next decade or so, and particularly driven by one of the things we just touched on or mentioned, AI. But I think a lot of people, I think there's some interesting bits there about culture and progress and things, but also attitudes to not just women, but, you know, anyone within your business, and how you perceive that. So I'm fascinated to see how people engage with this one, but I have had an absolute whale of a time.
Good.
Thank you for your time today. I hope this is lifted your spirits a little bit from not wanting to go into the office. I hope this
no, I was fine when I got here. It was just I actually got some really bad, that this is nothing to do. I got some really, really sad news this weekend that a very good friend of mine has got 2 weeks to live, and it was like,
you just lost your mum, haven't you, a week ago?
Yeah, my aunt died, Howard's mum. So, but she was 82. 89, sorry, she was 90 in September, and she'd not been good, you know, at this time. I mean, 72 years old. He's the same age as Ron, for God's sake. He is one of Ron's really good friends, and it literally, it has knocked me sideways. It really has. So it was like one of those today. I just like, oh, I think I need to go in a corner and cry or something. But anyway, I'm not, and I'm going to get on. And if Marion isn't crying, his wife, then I definitely don't have the right to cry. So I'll, get on with it. But,
and that's sometimes it, isn't it? I mean, I didn't have anything like that justification, but similarly this morning, you know, we've just finished our holidays with the kids, and although I worked Friday, I basically had kind of the last 2 weeks off, and it's always that. You know, particularly kids have still got 3 weeks of holiday, so knowing that they're at home knocking around, and this is juggling something between having fun and not being tormented by them. I'm going to say this morning as well, you know, it definitely wasn't a dread, but it was that, I could definitely just
one more day.
One more day on the sofa, just doing cuddles and playing computer games would have definitely gone down.
Well, I hope I've cheered you up then.
Well, likewise. I've had an absolute whale of a time, and yeah, we'll do another one of these, and we'll get around to some of the bits that we didn't get around to. But yeah, thanks for your time, darling. Have a fantastic.
I do want to talk to you about your AI, because is your AI, you do AI with tenants, yeah? That whole thing.
So we do a few bits. So we use a few products. Kind of, we as a business, we mainly leverage it for marketing at the moment within Base, and then but depository. Yeah, we're doing 3 really focused things. So we've done our first one, which is basically like a negotiation assistant for once you interact with the tenant, if they're not happy with your proposals and they come back, it basically helps you with responses. But yeah, I can't really touch on it lightly because we'll just go down a rabbit hole.
Well, we'll have to do the catch up.
Yeah, we'll have a proper chat. But I know it was one thing that we didn't want to rush into it because there's a lot happening in that space at the moment, and I think you've got to be really careful. There's some amazing products and tools out there, but I think when you start drilling down into really specific processes in agency, you need to be really careful about understanding. I think you need to understand the journey that we're going through. You know, the fact that everyone will come at AI from a slightly different angle and attitude and experience. I think you need safeguards or kind of handrails, kind of ways for people to kind of get familiar with it and work with it on their own terms, whilst kind of helping them make that journey into where it goes. So yeah, we've produced the first one. I think we've got another one we'll release in about hopefully next kind of 4 to 6 weeks. And then we're doing something around data towards the end of the year, which will be really exciting. But no, absolutely love to talk to you about that in more detail. Really keen to also have a chat, as we touched on before this, about your journey, because I think this is with dabbling your feet in AI, because I think that's a really interesting area of conversation. I think within agency now is how we are all choosing to approach it,
finding our way through it, because it is it's almost like wanting it but not knowing what it is. That kind of child in a sweet shop thing of like, I want it, but I don't know what I want.
It's so overwhelming, and I think we talk a lot about it at the moment, and we have some very clear objectives. Again, this is wearing my base back as an agent. We have some very clear objectives of what we want to achieve with AI over the next kind of 12 to 18 months. But like I said, it is overwhelming. It is kid in the sweetie shop. I couldn't think of a better simile. Analogy. It's perfect. It is that thing of like, oh my god, it's all so good.
Exactly.
And it's really trying to figure that out. I mean, we've kind of made a conscious decision. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, summer for us is mental on the letting side. So we've kind of gone, and with everything that's happening with Renters' Rights Bill at the moment, we're just like, do you know what? Head down. Let's get through the summer period. Let's hopefully get to a point where RRB gets royal assent and we actually know exactly what the hell it's going to be and when the fuck it needs to be in place. And then I think once we've freed up that headspace to go, cool, done. Then I think as we come into what traditionally the quieter months for us, November, December, January, that's going to be kind of a big period of experimentation for us. But one thing we definitely want to do is we want to try and bring the team with us in terms of AI is a journey, and I think for us all to figure it out, I think different viewpoints will definitely help young people's attitude and insights to tech.
Definitely
essential.
That's right.
Still got to figure out where those really crucial human points are, whether it's relationship or technical knowledge, how you crystallize those and leverage those out, because otherwise if we all end up just being an AI platform, then it all gets a bit boring. So
did you listen to the Diary of a CEO? I don't know if you ever listened to him. He had on, I mean, he does get on my nerves, but he has some really interesting people on. And I was talking about AI yesterday with a girlfriend, and he had on the head of Google, who was talking about AI and how AI is how he wrote a book a few years ago, and literally, and he said he never expected what he wrote to actually really happen, and all of it's happened.
Yeah.
And now he's writing another book, but he was talking about getting to a point which he feels eventually it will be, where we are teaching AI. The only thing left to teach them will be kind of ethics and how to be ethical and emotional.
Yeah.
And at that point, what the fuck happens then? Because
but I think it's like, you know, and we keep trickling down this path. We're going to have to end this in a sec. But
sorry, yeah.
It's, for me, the fascinating thing is, and I've only started doing this with a couple of small processes, is our approach is literally going to be breaking everything we do as a business down into specific processes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's going to evaluation, or how you handle a landlord inquiry, or how you handle a tenant deed, or, you know, how you handle a viewing inquiry. Every single one of those is a task, and then we map out every single element of that and every kind of variable of where that journey can go, and then you figure out, you know, if humans need to be in any of that. The fascinating, slightly terrifying thing is actually when you start really doing that and really genuinely asking where you add the value, it's fascinating and quite shocking how much work we do as agents that is transactional.
Yeah.
And actually you don't actually add any value to it. You either succeed or fail, you either do it or you don't.
Yeah, give me 2 minutes and I'll come in. Sorry.
Yeah, right. We know
I've
I've got to be my personal trainer in 5 minutes, so I definitely need to go.
Go.
Okay, darling, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.